In preparation for our time together today, I was drawn to a quote by Margaret Thatcher that I wish to share with you. She says, "Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, because it becomes your destiny. What we think, we become." Wise words. Jesus, in this Sermon on the Mount, as we read today, says to the disciples and to us, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." It's not a command to become something that we already are. Jesus doesn't say, when you do this, you will become that. Instead, Jesus makes a declarative statement of what already is. We are the salt of the earth, the light of the world. And then Jesus says, live like that. Live like that. Be that for the world. Be the light. Be the salt that transforms the world, that proclaims the glory of who God is. In our baptismal liturgy, the newly baptized is handed a candle. And these same words from Matthew are spoken to that one. "Let your light so shine before others that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." Our lives, our existence, our being in the world is about proclaiming who God is. That is the focus of who we are called to be. Salt, light, giving glory to our Father through our lives, through our relationships, through our existence. All that we are and all that we are to be is to point to Christ, to point to God who loved us so much that God came to us in Jesus, and the one who raised Jesus from the dead for us. Jesus tells his disciples that he has not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law, to bring the law to completion through his very life and ministry, through what will become his death and resurrection. And so he tells his disciples that your righteousness, your being right with God, must exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Now they probably scratched their head at that. What? What are you talking about? What are you asking us to do? How are you asking us to be in the world? You see, the scribes and the Pharisees were known to be the keepers of the law. And oftentimes, keepers of the law without thinking of compassion and mercy. They kept the letter of the law. They were sure to make sure that they didn't break any of the law. So when Jesus says, "You've heard it said, thou shalt not murder," they go, "Of course we have. And I haven't killed anyone today, or yesterday, or the day before, and I don't really intend on killing anyone tomorrow. So I must be in good shape." But Jesus expands this to say, the spirit of this law is that when you're angry with another person, when you speak poorly, when you speak meanly towards another person, when you put someone down, when you gossip, those are actions of murder. Those are the killing of the very spirit of that person. Yes, you didn't shed blood. You didn't take a life. But slowly but surely you eroded away the relationship between you and that person. You see, Jesus is expanding the teaching here to remind the disciples and us that to be salt of the earth and light of the world is to not only be concerned with the letter of the law, but with the spirit of the law, with the compassion and mercy that drives underneath the law. That is the foundation of why God gave to the Israelites the law in the first place. As Moses goes up on the mountain, the people lose their own way. They're not sure how to be. They've lost Moses. He has been up there 40 days. When is he ever coming down? And so they begin to go all the wrong ways again. And so God presents to Moses these 10 commandments, the law, the foundation of the law, not as a way of punishing the people, but as a way of loving the people. As a way of saying, here is how we live together as God's people. Here is how you live in relationship with the Lord your God. Here is how you live in relationship with your neighbor. And so as Jesus comes declaring that he is the fulfillment of the law, he expands that very law that they have clung to, that the scribes and the Pharisees have taught and cling to today. He expands that to say compassion, love, mercy. That's what it's really all about. So don't get hung up on whether or not you've actually killed someone. Think about your relationships with your neighbor, with your family. Not long after my dad died, my mother befriended a woman who was also going through her own sense of loss and grief. And so they became great friends, really soulmates in many ways. They found ways to fill each other's days and nights, to do a lot of things together, because the one fear that my mother had, she was widowed at 39. And so the one fear that my mother had was being lonely. It's horrible to be lonely, as I suspect many widows and widowers in our congregation today feel that sense of deep loneliness. And so this friend enters into my mother's life, and she begins to be a regular companion, a person to whom my mother could spend a lot of time. At first, that was okay with my sister and I. We saw that as a real gift for my mother. But then before we knew it, this person was at every function of the family. It's as if she had been adopted in without our say. And so being young adults that we are, you can only imagine our reaction to this. Mom, she doesn't need to be at every function we have. We want to spend time with you as your daughters. But she's my friend. I know she's your friend. But can it just be the three of us every now and then? And so that created friction and pain, both for our mother and for my sister and I. And to be quite honest, I didn't handle it very well. I became quite angry, both at my mother for substituting this person for my sister and I, and at her friend for inserting herself into every part of our life together. And so this anger built up, this angst. I got to the place I couldn't even come in the same room with this person without my hair standing up in the back of my neck here, without my body shutting down and my heart tightening up. And so as we existed like this for a while, and I must say a long while, I finally, with conversation with my mother, had to come to an understanding that for me, because I love my mother, I had to also love her friend. You see, that became the teaching moment for me, is that when we love someone so much, oftentimes that love means letting them go and supporting the ones whom they love. Wow, what a hard lesson to learn, and what a journey for our family. You see, when we hold anger in our hearts, when we hold anger in our beings, It erodes away at every relationship we have. It eats away at our insides. It becomes toxic to us. It's as if we're holding that hot coal in our hand that's not hurting anyone else but ourselves as it burns through our own flesh. And so for us, for me and for my mother and our relationship together, I needed to seek their forgiveness and to ask for their love so that we could, together as family, exist in the peacefulness that my mother so longed for. And so we did, and things improved. And that very friend was with us to help my mother through her dying days, was there to journey with my sister and I as fellow travelers on that road towards her resurrected life. Jesus cautions us about anger and cautions us to turn away from that which murders and kills relationships and to turn towards the light of God's love, to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world, and to proclaim that light beyond ourselves so that relationships flourish, so that God's love is made known in and through us. And so as Margaret Thatcher says, become what you are. Become the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Let love and mercy and compassion drive your relationships in this world, so that as we show forth the light of Christ, we give glory to our Father in heaven, who's through his love for us showed the ultimate mercy and compassion. Thanks be to God.